Hello, happy Sunday to everybody. It's no longer morning, but welcome to Mornings with Michael, the weekend update. It's brought to you for information and educational purposes only. It's up to you to do your own due diligence. But let me share our screen and get to our word of the day. Our word of the day is puerile. Puerile, childishly silly and trivial. The puerile pranks earn the boys a few weeks detention on top of the punishment their parents gave them. So there we go. We just take a look at the S&P 500 heat map where we left off Friday. Uh, Mainly in healthcare is down. We got some tech issues up. Intel, we saw cascading down from their foundry issues, losing a lot of money in their foundry. Looks like in Procter and Gamble's down big. Mixed bag in financial. Oil was up again. Industrials are down. So there we have that. We didn't look at the news, so let's just take a look at what was happening in the news. I thought our friend was stopping to send these to me, but he has continued. So let's just go to the news. Cinemark upgraded to overweight from underweight at Wells Fargo, pops up 10% on the week. See what it did on the day. It was up a little over 5%. Came back to the middle of the range. Krispy Kreme donut got an upgrade to overweight from neutral at Piper Sandler. Raised their target to $20 from $14. They traded up a little over 7% with their deal with McDonald's. Can take a look at what McDonald's is doing. McDonald's actually cascading down on that news. So pretty heavy volume on McDonald's. Kura Sushi. I didn't type in enough letters. Kura Sushi, the revolving belt of sushi restaurant, Q2 EPS lost 9 cents. So they moved up a little bit, but dived on under the 10-day moving average, still up about 6%. They estimated a loss of 3 cents. Q2 revenues 57.3 million versus estimate of 56.6. On to Tesla is relying on technical support from Apple as the car company seeks to prove an upcoming high-profile trial over the safety of its autopilot system that a Model X driver who worked for the iPhone maker was playing a video game on the phone when he crashed and died. So that is the story there. Let's see what Apple, any change in Apple. They're up slightly, 0.45% onto energy, industrials, and materials. Chesapeake said federal regulators are taking a closer look at their planned $7.4 billion acquisition of Southwestern Energy. They were up, bouncing off of their 10-day moving average at 0.21%. Southwestern Energy bouncing as well off of their 20-day moving average. Onto Duke Energy has reached an agreement to sell 50% ownership interest in Pioneer Transmission to John Lying Group, an international investor and active manager of core infrastructure assets. They bounce off their 20-day moving average down 0.22%, so the news did not do too much to them. Eaton upgraded to outperform from sector performance RBC Capital, and they're up at 3.23%. Gulfport Energy downgraded to sector weight from overweight at KeyBank. They pulled back initially and bounced off their 20-day moving average, down only 0.5%. And Nucor announced that it is introducing a weekly Nucor consumer spot price CSP to provide its customers with consistent and transparent communications regarding company's hot rolled coil spot pricing. They're up slightly, almost up 1%. On to financials. First Horizon upgraded to outperform and market perform in Keefe Bruyette, and it's up 0.61%. On to SoFi, upgraded to market perform from underperform at Keefe Bruyette, and it's up 1.23%. On to healthcare. Johnson & Johnson. Yeah, it really helped this option that I bought. Shockwave. To acquire Shockwave Medical for $335 per share in cash as an enterprise value of approximately $13.1 billion. It's the most I've ever done on a option play, up 13,000%. I bought it at 270. Bought it at 270, and then it's all the way up here at 326. AstraZeneca in the news. Imfinzi approved overall survival in limited stage lung cancer trial. Imfinzi results stem from Adriatic phase 3 trial. Data supports Imfinzi role in the treatment of early lung cancer after chemotherapy. And they're up 0.16%. Agilent upgraded to buy from hold at Stifel and raised price target to 163 from 145. So it's right in the buy area. You would have to make a determination if this is the right kind of investment for you. Teladoc announced that Jason Gorovic is departing the company effective immediately. And Teladoc is up 1.68%, no matter if he's leaving or not. The acting chief executive officer, while it searches for Mr. Gorovic's replacement, is Mr. Murthy, Mala Murthy, who is on the board of directors. Finally, on to technology, media, and telecom. Not sure if this will come up, but we'll see. It does not. Samsung is planning to more than double its semiconductor investment in Texas to approximately $44 billion to aid the finance of its expansion. Let me just type in the name. No, I don't think that's going to come up. We went all dark here. Altus USA. Gap down, downgraded to underweight from equal weight at Wells Fargo. Gap down and then closed up. Tried to fight back, but it was still down 5% for the day. Fox A upgraded to buy from neutral at Seaport Research. Didn't really help it as it was down 0.39% for the day. And finally, Digi Communications NV has agreed to sell part of its fiber networks to Spain to a consortium of Macquarie Group Limited, and they do not have a ticker symbol, so that is the news. Let me stop the share for a minute. Did I not share when I went all over all that? So I do apologize. This is Fox A. We missed all of that, but we're just going to trudge on. We got our PowerPoint presentation I'm going to go over for a weekend update. Got definitely some interesting things to share. But first, this is how support and resistance works. This line is resistance over here. Came up here, pulled back. This is a support line. came down here, came back up here, hit resistance, pull back to this line again. It supports the stock and it comes up, and then finally it's able to break through this resistance and kind of falls below the 20-day moving average, comes back up here, and then really falls below. So this is what support and resistance looks like. So moving on, this is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Had a really nasty sell-off, and people were reacting to the words of Fed. I think it was more computerized trading that really pushed it down. The algorithmic trading. It did pop up, but it only went up halfway of what had happened. We do see that the commodity channel index is hinging here, and so is the stochastics. So recommending that this probably will move up. Oh, I forgot my figures. I'm going to just pause the share here while I go get my numbers. So we're back here. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. So on the Dow Jones, I'm thinking this is going to bounce to 391, 391.16, and then pull back to 384.72. May go up here to fill up this gap and then pull back. So on the IWM, the IWM looks like it's falling further in both of these. It did go up here to fill the gap. So we think this is going to fall to 200.45. The 200-day, the 20-day moving average here is going to provide resistance. So if it comes up here, we think it's going to be selling off. And now let's go to the NASDAQ. NASDAQ, we got a hinge right here on these two, on both the commodity channel index and the stochastic. So I think that this possibly could come up here a little bit, go up to maybe up to 443.43, and then pull back to 429.91. What we really starting to see is a lower high, lower low on the NASDAQ. So let's move on to the S&P 500. That's the VIX. Here's the S&P 500. We think this is going to go up to, got a hinge on both of these, so we think the buying is going to continue, possibly come up here some. So shooting for 521.01, and then a pullback to 498.67 after that. And we'll see more on the VIX. The VIX hit a target of 1588 up here. We have this gap down here on the market. If this does come back and fill the gap, it's pretty well extended from its 20-day moving average. So that's the reason we think it'll pull back some, has a potential. See, it's hinging here both on the CCI, Commodity Channel Index, and the stochastics as well. So if this pulls back, the S&P 500 is going to probably go up. So moving on, this is showing chip stocks relative to the S&P 500 exceed the March 2000 peak. And we know what happened after 2000. So pretty nasty sell-off. So the question is, will history repeat itself? We're comparing to the 1973 market. We had a V-type bounced back, came back here, and will this kind of repeat itself and just fall off? So this is something to keep in mind over the longer term. Top 10% of stocks by size versus the entire US stock market. This is the highest they've been since 1930s. So just something to keep in mind. S&P 500 secular bull market roadmap. This was 1940s. Kind of took off here. It's in this basing pattern, broke out, and really ran up here. The generational lows were 1942, 1974, where we were looking at the sell-off starting in the 73, and 2009. So right here in 1966, it just really took off. 1987, we had that one big critical bear in October, a really big sell-off, and then it came back up. This is 2000 to 2013, the big sell-off in 2000. It came out back here, 2003. I guess this was 2003 right over here, and came up here. This 2007, big sell-off in the financial crisis, and then 2009 came up here. 2013, it broke out of this box area, and at 2013 to the present. Can't really invest off of that, but it is something to know in the back of your mind. If this is halftime for the secular bull market, does not rule out a 14-year secular bull market ending in 2027. So these are some, just because somebody is the best company in 1 year shows that they don't carry over to the next. Tesla, best performing stock in 2020, up 750%. Enphase, 591. And NVIDIA is a repeat performer. On to 2021, mainly oil. Got a couple of oils. Amazing, we got Ford over here. Moderna, carried over from the pandemic. Here's NVIDIA again. More oil and gas, steel. And then in 2022, we have Occidental, Constellation Energy, two big oil, Hess, Exxon, Marathon, Schlumberger, Valero. Almost everything was in oil or oil services. So moving on. The bull tech equals bull leadership since the great financial crisis. So this was 1966, big pullback. This was right around 1999, 2000. We had a big pullback. And then here is about 2008, pulling back. And then it's just been a strong leader ever since then. So Federal Reserve's Chairman Powell emphasized need for more evidence that inflation is easing before cutting rates. Initially, they said there might be 3 to 6 rate cuts, and then they backed down to 3. And right now they're running on a kind of real estate because it's looking more and more like it's going to only be 1 after the election. Large U.S. banks suffer another weekly deposit outflow. Stocks and Federal Reserves completely decoupled. The Fed bank's bailout facility now expired. The 12-month term loans are starting to mature, and the fund dropped over 17.2 billion last week. This was news from a week ago. And here's another news from a week ago. I just wanted to add these few slides in. I didn't get a weekend update previous week. There's a big drop in consumer confidence in February, followed by another drop in March, down 110% and 108%. No, actually, this is previous month, and then it fell to 106. Previous month in January was 108, and it rose to 114. So we got 2 months in a row declining consumer confidence. Credit card debt surges to new all-time high, just as card APR rates hit a fresh record. So people are having trouble with the inflationary pressures. So they're having to use their credit card for their day-to-day living. U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. In March, employment in government increased by 71,000, higher than the average monthly gain of 54,000 over the prior 12 months. So all the job numbers that are coming in are government related. And then if we go a little further, behind today's stellar job print, it was literally all part-time jobs and illegals. So the last 2 months, both January and February job prints were beyond ridiculously manipulated and goals seek to pass a terrible number as the strong one. The March print was not a complete disaster. Artificially goal seek blowout that guaranteed it would have zero credibility, with 303,000 payrolls added, which was a 4 sigma beat, but they're downsizing full-time jobs and adding with part-time jobs. Since November, the U.S. has lost 1.8 million full-time jobs. In the last 12 months, the U.S. labor market has seen 921,000 people increase in part-time jobs, while full-time jobs count declined by 284,000. And the headlines have been saying the U.S. has been adding jobs for 38 straight months. But of course, they haven't gone into the specifics, as the U.S. labor market is much weaker than we have been told. And why are central banks all of a sudden buying gold? We're not going back to the Bretton Woods type of situation. You must understand that gold is neutral. Central banks are buying gold because the neocons have weaponized the dollar. They're trying to move away from the petrodollar, and that could be part of the reason our inflation is surging. The Brent crude oil futures are moving up. Oil rises on geopolitical tensions. Investors eye a $100 level for the Brent crude. And finally, do we have a depression warning coming? M2 money supply growth year over year. In the 1870s, when it fell -2%, we had the 1870 depression. Then it fell to -3%. In 1893, we had the panic of 1893. 1921 depression, when it fell to -2%, 11% unemployment. And then in the Great Depression, it fell to -12%, 25% unemployment. And where has it gone now? Was at 26%, and all of a sudden has fallen to a -2% right now. This is from 2020. in 4 short years. So that's our PowerPoint presentation on the weekend update and kind of the risk to the economy. Let's stop the share here, share our screen. Look at the US dollar. Tried to move higher and pulled back. Gold continued to surge, up 1.71%. Silver had a one-day pullback and marched up higher, another 2.2%. Arrow silver mining, or actually copper mining, is right at pretty level the last 3 days, up 0.43% on Friday. This seems to be the leader in copper mining, up 0.64%, had a breakout over here and has just been surging higher. FCX. Up, and just take a look at copper, up ever so slightly. Look at our bond yields, bouncing, move up to 4.38% on the 10-year. And on the 20-year, bouncing up nearly 3%, up, really bounced off of that 200-day moving average up to 3.52. We just looked at the VIX, pull back from 1588, see if it pulls back further. RSP got a little bit of a bounce above the 20-day moving average, the equal weighted S&P 500. Equal weight in the NASDAQ. Got a bounce to get right above our 50-day moving average. And let's take a look at our leading ETF. Financials bouncing off of the 20-day. Energy is moving up. Look at that move. Wow, look at that strength off the bottom. Oil prices, US oil fund index 8240. You followed along with our trade. We put on the option right around 28, did a 30-35 spread, and then exercise those options, and it just continues to perform well. Communications with Google and Facebook up 1%. Utilities bouncing off of the 20-day moving average. Real estate bouncing off of the lows there, up 0.66%. Our infrastructure bouncing off of the 10-day moving average. Biotech bouncing off the lows there, and our other biotech doing about the same. Semiconductors got a slight bounce, get right back to the 20-day moving average. Leisure activity, and a slight bounce there. Metals and mining Got a nice bounce. Get in, see where some of the steel producers are. And home builders. Got a little bit of bounce there. And our materials. Bouncing off the 10-day moving average. We did not look at, see, got a little bit of a bounce from Bitcoin over the weekend. It's up around 69,000, and Ethereum is bouncing as well. Doesn't show it on this chart because these are only traded during stock market times. I'm just looking for some IPOs. So we stepped away for a quick second. So this is Asteria Labs. We put this on last week's. I believe we put on the 75-80 spread, going out about 2 months. Take a look at Reddit. Recent hot IPO as well. Looks very similar to A Labs. I just like the A Labs a little better. These were both put on by Morgan Stanley. So these are a couple that could keep an eye on. I'm just scanning through some other right here. This is one of the ones that we had profiled earlier. We were in this area and got out on this day, and it just continues falling. So that one has failed. Here's another one that has been trending in the news, and this was a big winner. Kazakhstan provides payments. So this would have been where to get in on this one. I guess you could have got in on this day or this day, and it is just taken off. Look at that movement. Hit a bottom of 85.02. It's gone to 132.76. You might want to keep that on your watch list. There's institutional ants right here and right here. So if it does fall, a lot of IPOs do fall and then goes into the first institutional base, be a good place to get in. In sports, signing day hasn't really done too much. Cargo Therapeutics tried to do a breakout and the breakout failed. Here was the IPO base right here. If you traded this one, it would have been kind of wild because it went up this day, pulled back to its 20-day moving average, and then broke out, came up here. And then here's the first institutional base where it has no failed. Just scanning through the group, see if there's anything else of interest. There's quite a few IPOs. Take a look at this JL. Hasn't done anything. We could take a look at Bright Spring Health Services, I think. This is one that came public at 13, pulled back to 785, and it is now forming a cup with a handle. It's too late to have really an IPO base, so it would be an institutional base here. And it would have to break above, I guess it would be 1119. You'd want to see some good volume come into it. So that might be, I'm going to add this to my IPO category. Just keep an eye on that. So that is a look there. What are some previous? So like Kava came public at 40, went up to 58, and then failed after falling from 52. And we talked about it right around 31, 32 area, and it has gone up close to 70. We did put on some covered calls at 70 to kind of protect and add some more income. So that has done well. So like this in the mining area, Denison Mines first caught my eye when it was at 85 cents. Took a while to get moving, went up to 179. It's where we bought it right over here. And then we sold it at 2. And now we got back in at 194. So projected to go to about 350. So we'll continue to watch that one. Some other things on the agenda that we're just kind of watching. Toast. Pull back. We went out to some food trucks in the Lathrop area. We noticed that they're using toast as well. So they seem to be broadening out in addition to the restaurants to also the area where Square has been mainly used. And Square, we're also watching this one. Got a bounce off of its 50-day moving average. So Toast, Square are in the portfolio, and Foursquare, which has been broadening out as well. They signed up the Los Angeles Rams, and UPS stores are using the service as well. So really think this is oversold. It moved up this way because Fiserv, among others, were bidding to buy it at what the CEO termed a really low valuation. So we have a 70-75 spread on this going out a couple months. Speaking of Fiserv, I'm not sure why they would want Square as well, but because they have Clover. Clover is being used in a few of the restaurants that I've noticed. So Fiserv is bouncing off of this moving average here. Continue to watch them. Haven't looked at this one for a while. The trade desk tried to break out, pulled back, or setting up again. Kind of like this a little bit more. It's starting to tighten up here. The breakout area is right around $90.40. Meta continues to do well. It's bouncing around this $500 level, and now it's really kind of broken out there. Microsoft seems to be performing well as well out of the big cap tech, and Google's trying to remain relevant. And let's see, Amazon is looking good. Remaining pretty tight, just hugging this 10-day moving average. Weatherford continues to do well in the oil and gas area. We have a May covered call option at 125. We'll see if get hit with that one. But we've had this back since right around 65. Tidewater continues to do well in the oil and gas area. One back here and just on their earnings really popped out, and they just continue going higher. Continue to watch these in the oil tanker services. This one tried to break out and is pulling back. This is like a base on a base, just in like a little box area. TRMD. It's kind of basing out here as well in the box area. 1, 2, 3. It's just, as you can see, it's just riding a little higher up to 34.95, 35.32. Now it's up to, after hours, it went to 35.47. So something to keep on your watch list. TK is pulling back. EC kind of in this kind of bouncing range. See if it can tighten up a little bit here. International Seaways. Scorpio Tankers looks like it's trying to break out over here. Golden Ocean is really taking off here. See if it can reset up here. I'm just looking for some other companies in this category. And This is one that we picked up. We're watching right around 54, 52. We put on a 54, 59 spread option. It's now in the money. Looked at how they're buying back a lot of their stock. Gonna look at a few others in their category. This one is kind of wild and loose. We'll see if it can tighten up here. CF Industries looks like it's trying to tighten up and getting ready to run as well. Came up here, pulled back, came up here and is now pulling back. See if it can tighten up a little bit. So we're back. Just wanted to find a few more of these bulk shipping. And here is Starbulk, has been a leader in the past. I'm just waiting for this to tighten up. See, it came up here, broke out, pulled back to the 20-day and bounced off of that. See if our little list brings up any more. Yeah, Euroseas, Golden Ocean, and Navios Maritime are the top ones in that area. See, we got these institutional ants right on Navios, pulling back a little bit, tightening up. Just continue to watch that one. And Secor Marine. This is where this is going, pulling back. So as we wrap up our show here, just want to go back and take a look at the NASDAQ. This might have been a forewarning right here, shot across the bow. We'll have to wait and see over the coming week and how the market reacts. Got our kind of predictions, and we'll just kind of see if it can bounce back or if it's going to be a longer pullback. There is some bad news out there, so it is time to be cautious. Got a little bit of a bounce in the S&P 500, but as we see, it just dove below its 20-day moving average. Will it go into a longer pullback, or could it even be more? We don't know at this moment. But yeah, the news is starting to get a little tilted out there with credit card debt, M2 money supply, a number of things. Government kind of manipulating the numbers with government jobs. A lot of people, a lot of full-time jobs going away and being replaced by part-time jobs. So this is the time to be cautious and not take too many risks. So that's our weekend update. This is Mornings with Michael for information and educational purposes only. Hope everybody has a great day and continue to enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow.